Incredible. Simply incredible. I'm ready when you are. Incredible. Simply incredible.
Anything you can tell me about the Soul Cairn?
The Soul Cairn is a tiny sliver of oblivion, the realm of the Daedra. It's ruled by unseen beings known as the Ideal Masters.
Why was your mother so fascinated by it?
Honestly, I don't know. Necromancers are always interested in souls, though, so that probably has some kind of interest.
What exactly are the Ideal Masters?
Nobody really knows. As far as I've heard, no one's seen them, and returned to Tamriel to tell about it.
Then how are you sure they even exist?
I've read stories. Stories about fools that manage to communicate with them. You give the Ideal Masters souls, they give you powers to summon the undead. It's all very businesslike.
Fools, why do you say that?
Because most of those stories end with the Ideal Masters duping the necromancers, who end up dead, or wishing they were dead.
Your mother maintained quite a laboratory.
I had no idea that her laboratory even existed. She had an alchemy setup in her drawing room, but nothing that even comes close to what's here.
What did she research?
Looking at the equipment and materials, it looks like she was trying to advance her necromancy.
To what end?
I don't know. Certainly not longevity. Kind of a waste of time for a vampire.
Did your mother keep gargoyles here?
Not that I ever saw. My mother had a bit of a thing for magical constructs. Not what you're thinking. She just found them fascinating. I'm ready when you are.
The smell here. I frankly thought it wouldn't smell like anything.
But looks like we'll be dealing with the smell of rot while we're here. Lovely. If she really is here, I wonder how my mother managed to deal with it.
I deal with it all the time.
How do you manage to deal with it then?
For a walking corpse, you don't smell terrible.
Me? I smell like nightshade and snowberries.
Might want to have a word with the trader who sold you this perfume.
Oh, you know what? You should be talking.
What do you mean?
I have a heightened sense of smell, you know. If you think you smell like blossoms after frolicking in a fetid cave, you are sorely mistaken. But, hey, you're actually not too bad. For a well-groomed bear.
Well, you're a snowback.
Horker face.
Milk drinker.
Well, that is just not true anymore. We're being awfully carefree, aren't we? I mean, for being trapped in a realm of oblivion with no guaranteed return. It's nice, really. To just have fun. Have someone who can help me forget about all the prophecies, Elder Scrolls, betrayals, and this awful God's cursed reek. About all of this, even for a brief moment. I'm starting to like you, okay? You're growing on me. And what I said is true. though I definitely wouldn't want to end up here for all eternity. We got a job to do. Let's find my mother, and find a way out of here. Ah, the smell here. Let's try to handle this quickly.
Hold on.
I've got you in my... Done and done.
You must help me find my Arvak. He doesn't deserve to be in a place like this.
Calm down. Who's Arvak?
Arvak, my horse. We came to this horrible place together. We were attacked by monsters, so I told him to run. Please, he's such a loyal creature, and he's been running for so long. You have to save him. A place like this will change you.
How can I help him?
Arvak! Arvak! Where are you? Arvak, please come back! Come back!
I feel terrible for the dead who end up here for eternity. Seems awful, like they're still suffering. Let's keep moving. I feel like we're being watched.
Do you know anything about this place?
Just what my mother told me. I've also studied a little bit on my own, but there's not much. When something is trapped in a soul gem, and then the energy is used for powering an enchantment, the remnants are sent here.
Any soul gem?
Well, I think it's specifically the black ones. I don't know if the Soul Cairn takes just any leftovers.
Does anything live here?
Look at this place. Do you think anything would want to live here? The only things that can survive here are the ideal masters, the undead, and the souls themselves. Well, if you want to call that living.
Do you think we'll meet the ideal masters?
I don't think anyone's ever met the ideal masters. I'm not even sure anyone knows what they look like. They could be underground, flying above us. They might be the ground. I have no idea.
Why are they collecting these souls?
Lots of theories. Some say they feed on them like I feed on blood. Others think they use them as payment for an even higher power. Almost like a currency, a very strange currency. Whatever they're doing with them, they've been harvesting for millennia. No telling how many souls are trapped here.
Why would a necromancer want to deal with them?
Look around you. There are some extremely powerful undead here. Even a necromancer as seasoned as my mother would be willing to spend years trying to gain access to them.
Summon them, you mean?
Exactly. It's a lost art. Most necromancers just raise up whatever bodies are nearby. A simple trick, really. Child's play. But bringing something from the Soul Cairn gives you something much more powerful.
How do the necromancers communicate with them?
Well, that's usually the trick. It's possible to do it through a simple portal. But to finalize the deal, you have to travel here yourself. And most of them never come back.
Are you sure Valerica has the Elder Scroll?
No, but there's no way she would have left it in Tamriel. She wanted to get it as far away from my father as possible. I can't imagine a better place.
And if she doesn't?
Then we find out where she hid it, if she's still alive. Well, as alive as she was before. Or is now. Or... you know what I mean.
Why not hide it in the Soul Cairn and then return?
Probably to avoid whatever my father would do to her if he got his hands on her. Or maybe her plan was to come back, but she was stuck here. We won't know until we find her. Keep that weapon sharp, and that wit sharper. It's a dangerous world out there. Who's there? Good night. All right, let's do this. That's how it's done. Let's keep moving. I feel like we're being watched. Mother? Mother!
Maker. It can't be. Serana?
Is it really you? I can't believe it. How do we get inside? We have to talk.
Serana, what are you doing here? Where's your father?
He doesn't know we're here. I don't have time to explain.
I must have failed. Harkon's found a way to decipher the prophecy, hasn't he?
No, you've got it all wrong. We're here to complete the prophecy our way, not his.
Wait a moment. You've brought a stranger here? Have you lost your mind?
No, you don't...
You, come forward. I would speak with you. So how has it come to pass that a vampire of mixed blood is in the company of my daughter?
I've been keeping her safe.
Safe? You call bringing her here safe? Has she explained nothing to you? Serana has sacrificed everything to prevent Harkon from completing the prophecy. I would have expected her to explain that to you.
That's why I'm here for the Elder Scroll.
You think I'd have the audacity to place my own daughter in that tomb for the protection of her Elder Scroll alone? The scrolls are merely a means to an end. The key to the tyranny of the sun is Serana herself.
What do you mean?
When I fled Castle Volkihar, I fled with 2 Elder Scrolls. The scroll I presume you found with Serana speaks of Ariel and his arcane weapon, Ariel's bow. The second scroll declares that the blood of Cold Harbor's daughter will blind the eye of the dragon.
How does Serana fit in?
Like myself, Serana was a human once. We were devout followers of Lord Molig Bal. Tradition dictates the females be offered to Molig Bal on his summoning day. Few survive the ordeal. Those that do emerge as a pure-blooded vampire. We call such confluences the Daughters of Cold Harbor.
Serana underwent this ritual willingly?
It was expected of her, just as it was expected of me. Being selected as an offering to Molig Bal is an honor. She wouldn't have dared turn her back on that.
Cold Harbor?
It's what some call the domain of Molig Bal. His place in oblivion.
The tyranny of the sun requires Serana's blood.
Now you're beginning to see why I wanted to protect Serana, and why I've kept the other Elder Scroll as far from her as possible.
Are you saying Harkon means to kill her?
If Harkon obtained Auriel's bow, and Serana's blood was used to taint the weapon, the tyranny of the sun would be complete. In his eyes, she'd be dying for the good of all vampires.
I would never allow that to happen.
And how exactly do you plan on completing the prophecy without the death of my daughter?
I'll kill Harkon.
If you believe that, then you're a bigger fool than I originally suspected. Don't you think I weighed that option before I enacted my plans?
And Serana's opinion in this?
You care nothing for Serana, or our plight. You see the tyranny of the sun as your chance at deification. And like Harkon, you won't hesitate to destroy anything that stands in your path.
Serana believes in me, why won't you?
Serana? This stranger may call himself a vampire, but he knows nothing of our struggle. Why should I entrust you to him?
This stranger has done more for me in the brief time I've known him than you've done in centuries.
How dare you? I gave up everything I cared about to protect you from that fanatic you call a father.
Yes, he's a fanatic. He's changed. But he's still my father. Why can't you understand how that makes me feel?
Oh, Serana, if you'd only open your eyes. The moment your father discovers your role in the prophecy, that he needs your blood, you'll be in terrible danger.
So, to protect me, you decided to shut me away from everything I cared about? You never asked me if hiding me in that tomb was the best course of action. You just expected me to follow you blindly. Both of you were obsessed with your own paths. Your motivations might have been different. But in the end, I'm still just a pawn to you two. I want us to be a family again, but I don't know if we can ever have that. Maybe we don't deserve that kind of happiness. Maybe it isn't for us. But we have to stop him before he goes too far. And to do that, we need the Elder Scroll.
I'm sorry, Serana. I didn't know. I didn't see. I've allowed my hatred of your father to estrange us for too long. Forgive me. If you want the Elder Scroll, it's yours. Your intentions are still somewhat unclear to me. But for Serana's sake, I'll assist you in any way that I can.
Do you have the Elder Scroll with you?
Yes. I've kept it safely secured here ever since I was imprisoned. Fortunately, you're in a position to breach the barrier that surrounds these ruins.
What do we need to do?
You need to locate the tallest of the rocky spires that surround these ruins. At their bases, the barrier's energy is being drawn from unfortunate souls that have been exiled here. Destroy the keepers that are tending them, and it should bring the barrier down.
We'll return soon.
One more word of warning. There's a dragon that calls itself Durnevere roaming the cairn. Be wary of him. The Ideal Masters have charged him with overseeing the keepers, and will undoubtedly intervene if you're perceived as a threat.
Why haven't you pursued the prophecy?
Harkon's vision is a world plunged in eternal darkness, where the vampire can flourish, and never again fear the tyranny of the sun. What he fails to realize is how much attention would be called to our kind if the prophecy came to fruition.
What sort of attention?
If eternal night fell, there are many who wouldn't stand for it. They would raise armies in attempts to return things to normal. The order of the day would be our destruction, until every last vampire was hunted down and eliminated.
So you prefer living in the shadows?
I do. It's how the vampire has survived for millennia, and the only way we can continue to survive in the future.
How did you become imprisoned here?
When I entered the Soul Cairn, I had intended to strike a bargain with the Ideal Masters, the custodians of this place.
What was the bargain?
I requested refuge in the Soul Cairn, and in exchange, I would provide the Ideal Masters the souls that they craved. If I had foreseen the value they placed on my own soul, I would never have come here.
They tricked you?
The Ideal Masters unleashed their keepers and sent them to destroy me. Fortunately, I was able to hold them at bay and retreat into these ruins.
You became trapped?
Unfortunately, yes. Since the keepers weren't able to claim my soul, they had their minions construct a barrier that I'd never be able to breach.
You've been imprisoned here for all this time?
Time has very little meaning to me. Consequently, it has little meaning to the Ideal Masters as well. I suppose you could call this the ultimate waiting game, each watching the other to see which will give in.
Who are the Ideal Masters?
I know very little about them. They're mystic entities that lord over the Soul Cairn, controlling every aspect from its fabric to its appearance.
What do they resemble?
Well, some necromancers believe they are the crystalline structures dotting the Soul Cairn. I believe there's more to it than that.
How so?
I think they transcend what we perceive as a physical form. Perhaps they were once corporeal beings, but they've obviously reached a point where they no longer require a tangible presence.
And the crystals?
Conduits, through which the Ideal Masters speak to their underlings and feed on their victims.
Why would they require sustenance?
The Ideal Masters' weakness is their insatiable hunger for pure souls. It's the reason for the Soul Cairn's existence, and the only leverage a necromancer has when bargaining with them.
What do the Masters provide in return?
The ability to summon powerful undead guardians, as one would conjure an Atronak or Daedra. However, the majority of necromancers that are foolish enough to enter into a bargain with the Ideal Masters wind up here, as harvested souls.
If I leave the Soul Cairn, can I safely return?
As you've been traveling in the Soul Cairn, your body has become attuned to it. Let's just say a tiny part of you rubbed off on it, and in its place, a bit of the Soul Cairn filled the void. You should find no difficulty using the portal any longer. Be careful, and keep my daughter safe.
Let's kill those keeper things and get back to the prison.
All right.
The sooner we get out of this place, the better.
Let's get going.
I can't believe we found my mother alive. Well, you know what I mean.
How are you feeling after talking to your mother?
Relieved, I think. All those things had been building up for a while. You have no idea how long I wanted to say that to her.
Why did you ever agree to her plan?
Look, I loved my father, but when he found that prophecy, that became his life. Everything else, even me and my mother, we just became clutter. I was close with my mother, but she just kept feeding me her opinions of him, and eventually, I started believing them.
She doesn't seem too fond of him.
The moment we gave ourselves to Molag Bal, things got really icy between them. They were both drunk with power and pulling in different directions. Then he found that prophecy, and that was it.
And you were caught in the middle.
I was. Honestly, it took me up until now to figure out that my mother was really just as bad as he was. He was obsessed with power. She was obsessed with seeing him fail. It was just so toxic. Maybe I could have seen this coming. We could all be better off now.
You shouldn't blame yourself.
I know that in my head, but I just can't help feeling bad about the way things are. Sorry. I know you're trying to help. Thanks. Anyway, we should keep moving.